Hello, hello, hello. I hope you are doing well. It is your girl, Kristen, and I am back with another video. So last week I kind of did a brief introduction into me posting more content on the page and kind of a little bit about me, but I wanted to take some time to expand a little bit more about me and provide some framing as to who I am and kind of how I view the world, which I think will be foundational to more content that I'll post here in the future. So let's chat a little. So I mentioned in my first video that I have been in the field of public health and healthcare for almost a decade. And shockingly, that was not originally my career path. I kind of fell into public health and healthcare, and I'll share a little bit about that. So originally, my family is from South Carolina, and my dad's side of the family is from a rural part of South Carolina. And I think even before I had formal language or formal words for it, I think I've always been innately, keenly aware about healthcare disparities, health inequities, and things of that nature. I think I've always recognized that if you don't have access, if you don't have resources, if you don't have money, you're not going to receive quality health care in this country. And that's always bothered me. My mom will tell you probably around the age of 10, had this bright idea to open a clinic in South Carolina. It was going to be a clinic that was part for humans and part vet clinic, because my thinking was we are in a rural part of South Carolina. People have animals, so if they're able to come and get their animals checked out while they're waiting on them, they can get themselves checked out, or vice versa. And that was what I was going to do for the rest of my life. So when it came time to go to college, I opted to major in nursing because that was my framing to how to make that possible. I thought that the only way you could have a clinic was to be a clinician, so I needed to go a clinical route. So got to college, I started off as a nursing major, did well in my classes, but when I got to anatomy lab, that's where things started to get a little shaky. They put that dead cat on my table for a dissection, and I said, okay, maybe nursing's not for me. I can't do the smells, I can't do the textures. So definitely went down to talk to my advisor about changing my major. I changed my major quite a few times while I was in college. I wanted to stay in the health and wellness kind of arena, but didn't want to do nursing anymore. So I originally switched to psychology. I've been a nutrition major at some point, and I switched to something else. Then finally, my advisor was like, why don't you just major in public health? And I was like, okay. I didn't really know what it was or what it meant. But I was like, let's just go for it. And as soon as I started taking classes, I absolutely fell in love with it. And I think the part that really sold me on public health was this idea that we were focusing on the health and well-being and promotion of health for entire populations, entire communities of people, and not just one individual person. I think for most clinicians, most of the care that you provide is direct one-to-one, and I think that's important. But that really wasn't what I wanted to do. When I look back at that clinic idea, it was really for a whole community of people. And so that's really what got me so passionate and fell in love with the field of public health. Loved it so much so that I went on to get my master's degree in public health with a major in community health practice, and loved it even more that I went back for a doctoral degree in public health with a focus in community health practice and health policy. And I'm currently working on my dissertation now. And I think one thing that I really loved about public health was also this expansion of the idea and concept of what health and wellness was or is. I think when I was, 10 years old, I was thinking about health as physical health, but it's so much more than those things. And one thing that I mentioned in my first video was I'm really passionate about doing the work or transforming the way that we do work that impacts others. And I want to do that work well, and I want to do it excellently. And I think for me, it's not just about health. I think health is a big component of it. I do think health is foundational and super important for us to do other things, but there's so many other components that determine whether or not we are well. And I think public health really gave me space and language and a framework to kind of have this expansive idea, envisioning of what well-being can look like. And that's really kind of what I've dedicated my life's work to, is advancing that on behalf of communities and populations. I've obviously tend to work with Black communities predominantly, but super excited about the path that I've been on. Even while I was in grad school, I founded my nonprofit organization with one of my dear friends with really the hopes of advancing health and well-being, and really more on the well-being side, if we're being honest, in communities of color. And for me specifically, I've always been a person that's felt like the power is always with the people. And so let's make sure that the people have all the resources they need to really take ownership and charge of their lives and their well-being. And so that's really the premise on how I started my nonprofit organization all those years ago. And it's taught me a lot. It's given me a lot of perspective. But one of the things that I think it's really taught me is really the importance of co-creation and really understanding who it is that we are intending to serve, and making sure that what we are providing, what we are offering to them is in alignment with that. And I think when I think about how we do work that transforms and impacts others, and how we do that differently, how we do that well, and how we do that excellently, it's really from this position of co-creation. I think, like I mentioned in my first video, a lot of things are happening in this country in this particular time, and I think the ways in which we are going to meet this moment and move forward and make it through some of the likely trying times that are coming ahead is from this position of co-creation. Obviously, I have my own lived experience that gives me a certain perspective and maybe even a certain level of expertise, but I don't know everything. Not any one person knows everything. And so being able to work with other people in our communities, whether that is our physical neighborhoods, whether that is just who we have shared identity with, to come together to design offerings, services, whatever the case may be, to move us forward ultimately to a more liberated future, is always what I have been down for. And I think sometimes, because we can get caught up in what we know, we forget to ask about the other people that are in community with us and how we can help and support and build them so that we can all coexist and be well together. And so that's a lot more about kind of like my positionality and how I view the world, and probably the lens in which I'll be sharing more content here about. So just wanted to come on and share a little bit more about me, and what I'm about. If there's anything that you are hoping to hear from this page or you're looking forward to, feel free to leave me a comment or a message, and I'll see you all next time. Peace. Go do something that brings you joy.